to talk to everybody about comedies. I think everybody, to some level, enjoys a good Hollywood comedy, or at least the ones that used to come out back in the day before comedy kind of went down the tubes, given the fact that Hollywood is as politically correct these days as they are. But of course, Vince Vaughn recently was on Hot Ones and talked about how nobody in Hollywood is willing to risk their jobs by making comedies anymore, by making good comedies anymore. But he's kind of further elaborated on this, and I enjoyed what he said here. He said, I don't know anyone who's like, I really love someone making a character be as polite and evolved as possible. He's talking about those around. He says, if anything, it's like, what can I get away with? And what I got to thinking about is that in general, the only type of comedy now that really, really works is when you mix it with another genre. Right? So dramatic comedy works to an extent, but the straight up comedy doesn't seem to do the numbers that it used to. And even as the movie that was coming out this weekend, the Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni movie that was coming out, which was advertised as like a romantic comedy and ended up being more of a dramatic film based on a Colleen Hoover book. What people realized is that they had to sell you one movie just to give you another because it doesn't work. And I don't really know any way in which Hollywood doing comedy right now is allowed to actually proceed unless they stop taking themselves so seriously.
Comedies are hard because it's always of the times, right?
Yeah.
So Superbad, when it came out, that was like one of the most famous movies, cult classic, loved it. I watched it 100 times. I went back and rewatched it recently, and it just didn't hit.
Yeah.
It had been long enough to where I wasn't expecting the jokes, but it just wasn't funny
Napoleon
anymore.
Dynamite was the same way for me.
It's hard to make, like
That
a
one holds
genuinely
up.
good
That
comment.
to me, like when I rewatched it, I was like, I have like this weird like phantom laughter because I remember laughing originally, but it just doesn't work. It's like I was in a different place at that time. Now, obviously, there are plenty of comedies that still hold up today. Zoolander, the original, in my opinion, still holds up today.
Airplane.
Just the other day, Tropic Thunder had its 16th anniversary for coming out, and there was like this thread going around. It's like, why was Robert Downey Jr. allowed to get away with this in that film?
Did you watch Old School?
Yeah.
That movie was great.
Yep.
What about Tires? That's like, it's not a movie, but Shane Gillis, Tires on
I didn't see
Netflix. Oh, it's like a 6-episode comedy series.
Okay.
Funniest thing I've seen in a very, very
He's
long
one of
time.
the few funny comedians right now.
Because he's a bro.
Yeah, he's unapologetic.
bro, dude.
Exactly.
The idea here is they want the concept of responsible comedy, but being responsible is inherently not funny.
True.
It's not. It's like, the other thing is like, they want to pass judgment on characters. It's kind of the same way they talk about Homelander. Like, they got mad when they realized that people liked Homelander because you're not supposed to like him.
Yeah.
If you're going to actually create great art, you have to just create it and let the people take it as they do.
Yeah.
And
Right?
if the actor does such a good job that he's insufferable, but people love him, like that's just props to the acting.
Why is it okay to enjoy the movie Joker when that's a villain, but you can't enjoy Homelander, right? Like, they're villains. Sometimes it's fun to watch the villain.
Nothing that's made to be socially conscious actually has any long-term impact because social values change, especially concepts like social justice, where every couple of years you get a new current thing that you're supposed to care about. So you get all of these movies that get made that are of the current year, and a couple of years go by and you're like, why was that made? I have no idea why anyone would want to watch this. Right?
Right. That's like most movies, honestly. And then it's the timeless ones that hold true. Who knows why or why not? The other day, I like rewatched Karate Kid, and I was like, dude, that
still holds up.
It's still good and it's inspiring. And I think that that's something that can kind of surpass cultures.
Well, you need to make the art timeless too. Like during COVID, how all the shows on TV had people wearing masks.
Oh, that was so. I immediately was
hated
upset
that.
when they did it.
Yeah.
The best thing you could do is not acknowledge it.
Exactly, exactly. And now every time you see an episode like that, all you think about is COVID. You know?
When I was in DC still, all the advertisements, all of them were people wearing masks. Oh my god,
I forget what.
it was a freak show.
Where was it? Somewhere just banned. I think somewhere in New York just banned wearing masks. 'Cause-
Too much crime.
yeah.
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 Yep.
They're like, you can't be covering your
Look,
face.
the other thing is like that type of comedy works, but it only works on the internet. So the best internet comedians who do skits, they kind of have to be tied to the news cycle and current events. Meaning, do you remember the clip of the guy and the girl, like they're both wearing masks, and she takes off her mask and she's like missing a tooth?
I never.
Do you
saw
remember that?
But that's
What's it again?
Like the guy and the girl are wearing masks, and they're like, "I think I'm falling in love," and then she takes off her mask and she's missing a tooth. But the point is, it's COVID specific humor. Right? Because
Okay.
everyone is wearing masks at the time. So the issue is, if you're an internet comedian and your work is tied to the news cycle, that's fine. Movies have to be made at a higher budget with a more timeless feel.
Yeah, Butterfaces were like big up during the pandemic. They were killing it.
How to smile with your eyes. You remember those
Oh my
articles
God,
and stuff?
yeah.
I was thinking of like 10 Things I Hate About You, and the trope of Kat being like the typical teenage feminist and her dad being the overly concerned father who's constantly worried about her having sex. And I'm thinking like comedies used to have to acknowledge universal truths, or at least something that spoke to the average person's lived experience in some way, meaning that
Right.
most people, not everyone, but most people grow up. Most people have a parent that's concerned about what they're going to do when they leave the house. All of these things are universal. And even if the movie's 20 years old, you still remember being that age and what was going on at that time.
Right.
Yeah. Movies that can zoom out of what's going on currently and what's okay to like and what's not okay to like, and can actually connect to things that are timeless that everyone can relate to. Those are the ones that
Like,
always withstand the test of time.
Ace Ventura is still funny to this day because it's Jim Carrey in his prime, right? So I saw somebody super chat, Liar Liar is still a great comedy. Everything, Jim Carrey was like the Bulls in the 90s at that time period. It was nothing but hits that whole time period. But if you go back and you rewatch those Jim Carrey movies, The Mask is another great example of a movie that doesn't have a lot of anything that feels unique to the time.
But
It's
the thing
just
about
good comedy.
the thing about Jim Carrey is that he's a lot of physical humor,
Yes.
whereas a guy like Vince Vaughn, it's like his bravado, and
He's like really
His
tall.
delivery.
yeah, his delivery. However, when your comedy relies on delivery, the issue is it requires a certain level of intellect. And I mean this sincerely from the audience to be like, oh, he doesn't mean this, even though that's what he literally said. What he actually means is this, and the juxtaposition of the two is where the humor lies.
Right.
And I think as people get dumber and remain dumber, that's why we have a humorless society.
It's like getting left out of an inside joke. You're like, you're just standing there. You're like,
Yeah.
"What? I don't.
They're literally
what?
too
What?"
stupid to get the joke.
Also, like
kind of, yeah.
Yeah, reference like especially like historical jokes. People are so dumb nowadays. Like you make a historical reference in a joke.
does that happen?
Who makes historical jokes?
Yeah.
No, but like no, there's definitely a lot
That's
of
an 1868, if you know what I mean.
Those people are too busy getting shoved into lockers.
Yeah, as they should.
Yeah. Like who's made like? Can you
Kella
give me an example?
nervously laughs. Oh, yeah.
none that are appropriate for
Leave
YouTube.
None.
Not
Can you
off the top of my
censor the
head.
joke?
No.
I can't.
Wait,
think
a
of
historical
I'll
joke?
tell you guys
Okay.
off air.
Wow, these are about to be wild.
Yeah, I don't have a historical.
They're
I'm
joke.
excited.
offensive, but also if someone doesn't get it, it's not funny.
Comedy-
Right, if you don't think it's funny, you're stupid.
Yeah, that's what I start telling people.
Comedy
They don't
used
laugh
to
at my
require
jokes.
you to share universal truths. Now everything is sectored off into race, gender, sexuality, and then the comedy is like they made Bros, which is made for a very small market of people because the average person isn't going to find the same things funny. Because if you're gay and you find some type of funny, humor funny because it's part of your experience as somebody who's gay in the year 2023 or 2024, that might be funny to you, but it's not going to speak to the average everyday person. It used to be, like I said earlier, they make a movie about a girl who's falls in love with the bad boy at school and her dad's constantly afraid of her having sex. Most girls who grow up and go through puberty understand this type of trope. Even if it's not necessarily their story, it's adjacent to their lived experience.
Yeah.
So it
Which,
makes
by the way,
sense.
the dad's right.
Criminal
He is.
experience.
Absolutely. I love that
Can we
guy.
talk about that? Like, she shouldn't be sleeping with a guy. He's a freaking loser.
Hey, you leave. Heath Ledger in that movie was fantastic.
Oh.
You know, we were talking about this a little bit, Brett, when we were going over this article before the show. I'm curious because Adam Sandler was just on Joe Rogan, and I'm gonna definitely watch that episode when I have some time. But I'm curious if they end up touching base on any of this stuff that this article's talking about.
I mean, he's
like,
still making-
Seinfeld has come out recently and
You said Adam Sandler?
Adam Sandler was on Joe Rogan. Yeah.
Okay. He came to mind when we were talking about this because I feel like he completely leaned into like the polite humor.
Who? Seinfeld?
genre. No, Adam Sandler.
No,
All
he just
the
got
comedies
old.
that have come out recently, like Grown Ups 1, Grown Ups 2. I mean, it's like they're like poopy
Well, it's 'cause
jokes,
he
but
got
they're
like a
very
gazillion-
PC.
He got like a gazillion-dollar deal from Netflix
But
to just pump out
It doesn't
movies.
quite work. Like, if I don't know how old is he, like 50 something now.
He's gotta
Gotta
be.
be.
It doesn't really, like, the comedy that made him famous in the 90s and early 2000s. You
man.
can't really do that anymore
Happy
at
Gilmore?
that age.
Yep.
But there's a Happy Gilmore 2 coming out, so we'll
Really?
see.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
From
What?
Netflix.
I don't care, dude. I'm so ready.
There was a great meme.
Dude,
it
Happy
says-
Gilmore was laugh out loud funny.
Yeah.
It was no Carl Weathers.
Golf
though.
is timeless, and that's why it'll always be funny. Because golf has it's been
Well,
played the same
and
for
Shooter-
200, 300 years.
Shooter McGavin is a great foil, no matter what.
Do you follow him on
generation.
Twitter?
Yes, I do. He's fantastic. Yes, you gotta go. He's
Timeless,
his
truly.
job is to just talk shit. That's all he does. He just talks
so
shit on
good.
Twitter all day.
I know.
Guy's awesome.
No way.
Yeah, I mean,
Is it the actor or is it like
I don't
someone
think
else?
it's
No,
the
it's
actor.
him.
It's just
Is it the actual
I'm
actor?
pretty sure it's him.
Okay.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Sick.
Somebody in the chat fact check. Is the Shooter
fact
McGavin
check
Twitter
that.
account actually? There was also a meme that was going around. It said like Sydney Sweeney has been cast as like big-breasted ball girl number 4 in Happy Gilmore.
Yes.
And obviously that wasn't true, but it went. It
They,
went
what they just asked her as some it's a biopic that's coming out.
oh no, they were fan casting her as Britney Spears.
Is that what it
Yeah,
was?
they
Oh,
want her to
wait.
play
Okay.
Britney Spears, and they're like their eyes aren't the same
It's
Yeah.
shape.
yeah, it's completely different style too, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You know.
They look completely different, yeah.
I just think we just live in a society now that takes itself too seriously, and they care too much about what is said online. What works in the theater and what works online are two vastly different things, because people on the internet are just designed to go looking for flaws. So if you make a movie and you just let it be, like, there's a reason why Tropic Thunder is universally loved, even though it has, you know, Robert Downey Jr. in blackface. It's because he never apologized, and people respected the fact that he never apologized, and they knew that he did not do that with malice.
He was playing a person playing a person.
Exactly. He was the dude
and yeah.
disguised as another dude, right? But the point is that what they would have to do is, like, for specific genres, like, if you're going to make an offensive comedy, just do it and then don't read any of the comments. Just
Right.
Be brave.
Power
And if-
through it.
Be brave. Don't read any of the
And
comments.
if you get offended at something, that you know those aren't your fans anyway, right? So why
I just
are you
want to
bowing
know
to
where
them?
this idea came from that people think they can control
They
other
can.
people so much.
I mean, women have existed throughout history. You know what I mean?
women controlling the means of social discourse through shaming on the internet.
You're saying that's
I mean, like, that's
think that's
that's
how
why
it-
it works, right? Because women,
because it actually works
women
now. Okay, I see what you
traditionally policed their friend groups and others through social ostracization and shaming.
Yeah, have you
right?
ever been shunned, Sarah?
That's what the
Not
internet
yet.
is as a whole, right? They control you through shame. It's funny because we talk on the show a lot. Like, Mary talks about how we need to bring back shaming, and I was like, "There's lots of shaming these days. It's just not the direction people want it to be."
We gotta bring back shaming the lames,
No.
the losers.
And it's like with the internet, you know, once you post it, it's there forever. So it's like if you make an off-color joke and it just doesn't land, right? People are gonna give you some crap for it, but then it's gone in the wind. But now on the internet, your joke is there forever. The replies are there forever.
Yeah, and it defines that person.
And
Honestly-
if you think about it, like when you say something crazy or off color, most of the time you don't remember it later,
Right.
And or even
Yeah.
what people said to you in that moment. Now
Right.
you have it through transcript, so it's like, and it immediately brings back what was said in that moment.
Honestly, we don't need shame back in a way because we're constantly shaming people
Other-
one side or another. I think what we truly need back is kind of this internal measure that we used to have of like, he's kidding, it's not
Yeah.
that serious.
Yeah, well, nothing is taken that way
we
anymore.
need to
Right.
restore
Everything-
the value
yeah.
system.
Everything is completely hyperbolic. Like,
People are
this
too
is,
sensitive too.
Yep.
they're gonna take away my rights. It's like, no, we're not. Like,
It's-
stop it.
I like a couple people have it as their Twitter bios, and I really do identify with this. Like, everything I say is a joke unless you agree with me. Then I'm serious, right? Literally, I'm always kidding. Unless you think I'm right, then, you know, that's true. There's a $20 super chat here from Will Egger. Says, "Idiocracy is what we are living in. There are no time machines to get the 90s, man." to get the 90s man back to save the world. Yes, that is true. And I do I think sometimes people have, I see people argue back and forth as to whether the 90s was as great as it was. And I do think it was, but I don't think you can ever get back to that because prior to widespread internet usage, you're just never going to get back to that.
I don't know. I feel like you just gotta.
Everyone would have to disconnect from the internet.
I long for the past as well, but like at some point you just gotta let go.
Like, let's all just agree to get off the internet.
It's
How about
leaving
that?
a bad.
Honestly, yes. Honestly, yes.
I'll die.
Yes,
That's
I'm
why people are like
serious, though.
abandoning Instagram. Like it's gone so crazy that it left a bad taste in people's mouth, and they don't want anything. Yeah, people are deleting their Instagram accounts. Like it's just a rejection of social media that we're starting to see now.
Well, here's the thing. You see people make videos all the time on YouTube. They're like, I left social media for a year. I'm going to give you the cliff notes. Nobody ever says it was a bad idea.
Yeah.
Like, not one person has ever been like, look, I took a year off social media and my gosh, my life is worse. No.
No, and that's what's so dangerous about Twitter is because they lure you in with like, it's the news. And like, it's social media.
There's I've been going, we go back and forth about this all the time. So for about 2 weeks, I deleted it off my phone just so that I only had it at work, but I have to do my job. I have to have it. Like the whole time I was out of town.
Tell me about it.
The whole time I was out of town, I was sending Kellen and myself links about stuff that we could possibly cover. I have to do that for work. But I'm not happy when I'm on the app. And I'm not even reading anything that's important. That's the problem. As I say all the time, like I'll read these threads. I don't remember any of it later. I just know that.
I hate that trend now.
You know that phrase, like, people won't remember what you said. They'll only remember how they made you feel.
Yeah.
That's the truth. I'll read a thread that pisses me off and not remember
How
anything
has X
about it.
made you feel,
It
Brett?
just makes me annoyed. So, look, if you want to make
know.
great comedies, you have to get away from. You have to just be brave. Let the filmmakers make the movie that they want to make. First of all, hire good producers and good executives that know a good script when they see one. Hire good people, and then trust them to make a good product and not kill projects just because it seems a little bit edgy.
Also, I take the Mike Cernovich approach to the internet to the absolute extreme. So his thing is like, if you mildly annoy him, he blocks you. And I don't usually block. I mute so that you continue to scream in the void and I'll never hear you. So I do that, and any and every topic that I don't like, I was like, don't show me this, don't show me this, don't show me this.
Yeah.
But that sucks because for some reason in every platform that's not as effective. Like you truly have to do it like 100 times. Like I truly think I've told YouTube, don't show me Lex Friedman 100 times.
And YouTube's like,
get Lex
Friedman.
He blocked me, and my life's all the better.
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.